Help me! Please!" The voice was so faint, almost inaudible. Marcus Johnson turned off the garbage truck engine and listened. Silence. Maybe he was hearing things, but someone who had worked search and rescue for 20 years doesn't forget sounds like that. He approached the dumpster, lifted the lid, and the voice that came from inside changed his life forever. Because what Marcus found in that Brooklyn alley wasn't just garbage. It was evidence of a crime that had been happening right under everyone's nose for months. And the man everyone saw as just another sanitation worker was about to become the most unlikely hero in New York City. This is Echo Stories. If you believe these hidden heroes deserve recognition, hit that subscribe button and let's honor the quiet protectors among us. Marcus Johnson, 58 years old, had been driving the same garbage route through Brooklyn for 15 years. Red Hook, Carroll Gardens, Gowanus. He knew every street, every building, every dumpster. His shift started at 5:30 a.m., 6 days a week. People barely noticed him. To most residents, he was just part of the city's invisible infrastructure, like streetlights or fire hydrants. Essential but unremarkable, Marcus preferred it that way. After 2 decades in search and rescue operations, anonymity felt like peace. No more emergency calls, no more life or death decisions, no more sleepless nights wondering if he'd done enough. Just him, his truck, and the rhythm of the city waking up. But old habits die hard. Even after 15 years of civilian life, Marcus still observed everything. Which buildings had unusual activity? Which alleys felt wrong? Which dumpsters were positioned differently than usual? Training that deep doesn't just disappear. Thursday morning, October 12th. Marcus was working his usual route on Court Street when he heard it. "Help me, please." The voice was barely a whisper, coming from somewhere near the dumpster behind Antonelli's restaurant. Marcus killed the engine and stepped out of his truck. Silence. He stood still for 30 seconds, listening. Brooklyn at 6:15 a.m. was never completely quiet. There was always traffic, always sirens in the distance, always the hum of a city that never truly sleeps. But this silence felt different, deliberate. Marcus approached the large green dumpster slowly. It was positioned wrong, about 3 feet from where it usually sat. Small detail, but he noticed everything. As he got closer, he heard it again. "Please, help." The voice was coming from inside the dumpster. 20 years of training kicked in instantly. Marcus assessed the situation like he was back in the field. Victim trapped in confined space, unknown duration, possible oxygen deprivation, time critical. He lifted the heavy dumpster lid carefully, no sudden movements that might cause injury to whoever was inside. What he saw made his blood run cold. A young woman, maybe 20 years old, bound with zip ties, duct tape over her mouth, conscious but weak. She'd been there for hours. Marcus immediately checked for signs of trauma while keeping his voice calm and steady, exactly like he'd been trained. "You're safe now. I'm going to get you out. My name is Marcus. What's your name?" The woman's eyes filled with tears of relief. She tried to speak through the tape. "Easy, easy. Let me get this tape off carefully." As Marcus gently removed the duct tape, the woman gasped. "There are others. He has others." Marcus helped the woman, Sarah Chen, 19, college student, out of the dumpster and called 911. But as he listened to her story, his search and rescue training told him this was bigger than one victim. "He said he was going to come back for me tonight. Move me somewhere else," Sarah whispered. "Who? Can you describe him?" "The man who grabbed me. He said I wasn't the first. That he had a whole business?" Marcus's jaw tightened. This wasn't random. This was organized. When NYPD arrived, Detective Lisa Rodriguez took Sarah's statement while EMTs checked her condition. Marcus stayed close. Victim support was part of S&R protocol. "Mr. Johnson," Detective Rodriguez approached him afterward. "Sarah says you handled this like a professional. What's your background?" "Search and rescue, 20 years. Army, then civilian disaster response. Ever work kidnapping cases?" "Missing persons in disaster zones, similar skill set." Detective Rodriguez studied him. "We could use help. This looks like human trafficking, and we're understaffed." Marcus should have said no. He was retired from this life. But Sarah's words echoed. "There are others." "What do you need?" he asked. "Someone who knows these streets, these alleys. Someone people don't notice." That was Marcus exactly. Invisible in plain sight. Over the next 3 days, Marcus modified his garbage route slightly. Same streets, but different timing. He started noticing patterns. Certain buildings had unusual late-night activity. Certain vehicles appeared in multiple locations. Certain dumpsters were moved more frequently than others. His search and rescue training included pattern recognition, finding signs of life in chaos. This was just different chaos. By Friday, Marcus had identified 4 locations with suspicious activity, all connected by the same garbage collection route, all using the same type of commercial dumpsters. The traffickers were using the waste management system to move evidence, maybe even victims. Marcus called Detective Rodriguez. "I think I found something." They met at a coffee shop in Carroll Gardens. Marcus spread out a hand-drawn map. "These 4 buildings, all on my route, all showing signs of irregular activity." "What kind of signs?" "Extra bags of garbage on non-collection days, dumpsters moved to block sight lines, fresh tire tracks in alleys that should be pedestrian only." Detective Rodriguez stared at the map. "How did you notice all this?" "In search and rescue, you learn to read environments, what belongs, what doesn't, what's normal disturbance versus human-caused disturbance. This is incredible work, but we need more evidence before we can get warrants." Marcus nodded. "I can get closer. They don't see me." Monday morning. Marcus approached the first location on his list, a seemingly abandoned warehouse in Gowanus. His truck provided perfect cover. As he collected garbage from nearby businesses, he observed the warehouse through his peripheral vision. 2 men arrived in a van. They unloaded several large boxes, too big for typical warehouse supplies, too careful for normal freight. Marcus memorized the license plate, the timing, the men's descriptions. Second location, residential building that should have normal family garbage. Instead, Marcus found restraints in the dumpster. Zip ties, duct tape, clothing that looked like it had been cut off someone. Third location, vehicle rotation pattern. Same type of van, different plates, arriving every other day at exactly 3:47 a.m. Marcus only knew this because he'd started coming back to check during his off hours. By Wednesday, he had enough evidence for Detective Rodriguez to bring to her supervisor. "This is solid intelligence," Lieutenant Morrison told Marcus and Detective Rodriguez, "but we need real-time coordination for simultaneous raids." "I can provide that," Marcus said. "I know the timing patterns. I can signal when subjects are present." "You're a civilian, Mr. Johnson. I'm search and rescue. Coordination is what I do." Lieutenant Morrison looked at Detective Rodriguez, who nodded. "Sir, his intelligence is the reason we found this network. He knows these locations better than anyone." "All right. But you stay in your truck, maintain radio contact, and get out at the first sign of trouble." Marcus agreed, but privately he knew that if civilians were in danger, he wouldn't be staying in any truck. Thursday, 3:30 a.m. Marcus positioned his garbage truck at the central location, the warehouse. Perfect vantage point to observe all 4 sites. Radio check, all units, garbage 1 in position. Copy garbage 1, maintain observation. 3:47 a.m. exactly. The van arrived at the warehouse. Marcus radioed, "Target 1 active. 2 subjects entering building." Simultaneously, activity started at the other 3 locations. The network was coordinated, operating on schedule. "All units, this is Lieutenant Morrison. Green light. Go, go, go." Marcus watched SWAT teams hit all 4 locations simultaneously. Professional, coordinated, exactly like the search and rescue operations he'd participated in. But something went wrong at the warehouse. "Shots fired. Shots fired. We have hostages." Marcus heard the radio chatter and saw muzzle flashes through the warehouse windows. His S&R instincts screamed at him to help. "Garbage 1, maintain position," came through his radio. But Marcus was already moving. 20 years of training doesn't shut off because you're driving a garbage truck. He approached the warehouse from the blind side, the same side where he'd seen emergency exits during his observations. Classic S&R approach, multiple entry points, secondary escape routes. Inside, he could hear shouting. Detective Rodriguez's voice. "We know you have civilians in here. Let's end this safely." Marcus found an unlocked service door. Standard search and rescue entry. Quiet, careful, assess before committing. What he saw inside changed everything. 3 traffickers held 4 young women as human shields. SWAT was in position but couldn't risk civilian casualties. Marcus was behind the traffickers, invisible in the shadows. This was exactly the scenario he'd trained for: hostage extraction in dangerous conditions. He signaled to Detective Rodriguez using hand signals from his military days. She saw him and understood. "Okay, let's talk about this," Rodriguez said loudly, keeping the trafficker's attention forward. Marcus moved like smoke. 20 years of experience getting people out of impossible situations. First hostage, 17-year-old girl, zip-tied, terrified. Marcus cut her restraints silently and guided her to the service door. Second and third hostages, extracted in under 90 seconds. Fourth hostage was being held directly by the lead trafficker. This required a different approach. Marcus waited for Rodriguez to create a distraction, then moved with the precision of someone who'd done this hundreds of times. Pressure point on the trafficker's wrist, weapon drops, victim pulled to safety, all in about 3 seconds. By sunrise, 12 traffickers were in custody and 8 victims were safe. The network Marcus had identified saved an estimated 30 people from being sold into slavery. "Mr. Johnson," Lieutenant Morrison approached him as EMTs checked the last victim. "That was incredible work. Just did what needed doing." "No, that was professional level search and rescue. Where did you serve?" "Army S&R, then FEMA disaster response. Retired 15 years ago." "Why garbage collection?" Marcus looked at his truck, then at the victims being loaded into ambulances. "Because I wanted quiet. No more emergencies, no more life or death decisions. And yet here you are." "Here I am." Detective Rodriguez joined them. "Marcus, the FBI wants to debrief you. This network was bigger than we thought. Connections to trafficking rings in 5 states. "I just drive a garbage truck, Detective." "Not anymore. The mayor wants to give you a commendation." Marcus shook his head. "Those girls are safe. That's commendation enough." Within hours, news crews descended on the warehouse. "Garbage man saves trafficking victims" dominated local headlines. Marcus declined all interviews. When reporters found him on his route the next day, he simply said, "I was doing my job." Same as always. But the story had legs. National news picked it up. Unlikely hero segments, social media campaigns. Marcus hated every minute of it. "Why won't you talk to them?" Detective Rodriguez asked when she brought him coffee on his route Friday morning. "Because this isn't about me. It's about those girls who are alive because we did our jobs. The public wants to know about your background." "The public knows enough. Bad people got caught. Good people got saved. That's the story." Sarah Chen, the first victim Marcus had found, disagreed. She organized a small gathering. Just the victims, their families, and Marcus. "You saved us," she said simply. "Thank you." That meant more to Marcus than any medal ever could. 2 weeks later, Marcus was back to his regular route. Same truck, same dumpsters, same 5:30 a.m. start time. But something had changed. People noticed him now. "Morning, Marcus," called Mrs. Rodriguez, no relation to the detective, as he emptied her building's dumpster. "Thanks for keeping us safe," shouted teenagers waiting for the school bus. Marcus waved politely but kept working. Fame wasn't why he'd done it. Detective Rodriguez still called him occasionally. "Got any weird observations on your route?" "Just garbage," Marcus would reply. But they both knew he was watching. Because once search and rescue, always search and rescue. Even when you're driving a garbage truck through Brooklyn, looking for signs that someone, somewhere, needs help. 3 months later, Marcus Johnson still drove the same route through Brooklyn, still started at 5:30 a.m., still collected garbage from the same buildings. But now he was part of an informal network. Building superintendents who noticed unusual activity, shop owners who saw suspicious vehicles, residents who paid attention to their neighborhoods, all coordinated through Detective Rodriguez and the NYPD's new Community Watch initiative. Marcus never spoke publicly about his role, but every morning, as he drove through the streets of Brooklyn, he knew he was doing more than collecting garbage. He was watching, listening, ready because somewhere in the city someone might need help. And the most unlikely heroes are often the ones nobody sees coming. And so, in the streets of Brooklyn, it was proven once again that heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they drive garbage trucks, work quietly, and save lives when nobody's watching. Real protectors are like this. They don't seek recognition or fame. They just do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. If this story meant something to you, share your thoughts in the comments. If you believe these hidden heroes deserve recognition, support Echo Stories by subscribing. See you in the next video. And remember, the person you pass every day without noticing might be the one who saves your life tomorrow.